Second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Mr. Kenneth Caine, and the issue is the Nashville Black Coalition, Nashville Black Coalition. Of course, the purpose of that coalition, as you've indicated, Mr. Caine, is to try to focus on issues that are of some concern to African Americans in various communities across the nation. But now, one of the real issues that we've had to deal with has to do with a large number of young people, especially African American males, who have been disfranchised primarily because of their connection or their contact with the criminal justice system. Let's talk about the impact that is having upon Africans, African Americans.
Right. Well, as it turns out with me, I was driving down 8th Avenue one evening, and I got pulled over by a cop, and he asked for my license and all this stuff. So I gave him all of that, and he told me that that there's a warrant out for my arrest for a ticket that I had not paid, a traffic ticket. I believe it was a parking ticket. And so, of course, I assured the man that I had paid that ticket, and but I was arrested. He took me downtown, and they booked me, and so there I was, in shock. And then I noticed I was surrounded by brothers, young brothers, older brothers, not just African Americans. Of course there were whites there, a few Hispanics, but primarily it was young African American males. And so as I sat there, after several hours, it dawned on me that these fellas may not have gone to Tennessee State University. Many of them didn't finish high school, and many of them didn't appear to have a lot of money to really afford any kind of legal help. And so it dawned on me that we are in great trouble. And so I was touched by that. My spirit was moved, I have to say. And so when I went to a meeting with our group and told my story, I was traumatized by it, by the way. Never been arrested before, And so we felt moved to do something about this issue of felony disenfranchisement. And so as we did research, talked to lawyers, we found out that no one's really dealing with this issue, and that it's affecting millions and millions of people all across the country. I think Tennessee had at least 100,000 people
that fall into that category.
Yes. And so, but now most of the crimes were for little petty crimes. They were not for violent crimes. They were for things like maybe having a small amount of, marijuana, things like that. And so what really shocked us was what it did in essence. They were experiencing sort of a death in terms of our society. We call it civil death, a term that was really coined back during the 18th century in Europe, where they could find a way to kind of weed people out of the political structure. And so that's what a felony does for people. You can't vote, but not only that, you can't get school loans, you can't get college loans, you can't get business loans.
Anything from the government in a real sense.
Right. And so its impact, of course, on the family structure, when you have a wife, children, and yet you're faced with this awesome impediment of being locked out of society.
That's exactly what it is.
Yes. And so since that time, we have been assembling various lawyers around town. We set up shop at a library, someplace like that, or at a church. And then we try to help those to get their lives back, to get their rights back as citizens. I'm amazed that, of course, you was in the civil rights movement during that era, and yet people's voting rights have just been stripped away, and nothing is really, not enough, I would say. It's being done to really address this issue, because it's also about economics, it's also about education. So it's a very, very pregnant issue that we feel like is a structural problem that we have that must be addressed structurally, through the laws. Because legally,
through legislation.
Exactly. And of course some states are doing that now. But woefully not enough.
But this is a real problem. I think we've talked about that, and I think you said, what, at least 100,000
yes,
individuals in the
yes.
state of Tennessee
Yes,
have fallen,
alone.
which is to say that these individuals in a real sense have been really locked, as you've indicated, locked out. They can't vote, they can't get loans, they can't, in a real sense, they can't get a job. Do you find in your group that, as I've been informed by others, that those individuals who become involved in this in a real sense, not only cannot get a job, but in a real sense have almost been locked out of society?
Yes, in fact, the part that really bothers me, I get phone calls from some of these gentlemen who have gotten out. You know, they tell me that, you know, when I was 17, I had a small joint on me. You know, that was 30 years ago, okay? I'm married, but I can't keep a job. I have children. I've done my time, okay? But yet I don't have access to the American dream, so to speak. What do I do now? You know, and these guys go to the churches, and so they experience, as I said, sort of a death in a sense.
It is a civil death.
A civil death. And so we've tried to address this, and in fact, we continue to try to address this issue, but also to tell the story that, hey, we have a bona fide democratic issue here.
It is.
Okay? That really is unconstitutional when you get down to the bottom of it. It cannot be legal.
In other words, a person who serves his time has, as far as society is concerned, has paid his debt to society.
They pay their dues.
But as far as the rest of the folks are concerned in terms of dealing with him, he's still the same criminal that he was the day he was judged. Is that the attitude that most folks have?
Yes, it is. In fact, it's not just men anymore, though. A lot of women.
Caught up, yes. We didn't know.
A lot of African-American women.
Say something about that. We didn't know that.
Quite a number of students have come to us. Students in college right now who have a felony on their records. But see, part of the problem is that the route back to getting their rights, for instance, if you owe any kind of back child support, okay, you got to pay that first. Which, of course, if you spent a year behind bars, or 2 years, or 10 years behind bars, well, that money has accumulated.
That's right. And
so therefore, you really locked out in that manner, just economically. So it's very discriminatory, and we have to try to address it in some way.
You know, we're coming up for this second commercial break, after which we'll have an opportunity to do this third segment, and we can get into in greater depth in reference to this. But I think that some of the things that you're talking about now are some of the common problems that we've heard in reference to this as a real issue, and it's an issue, as you indicated, that ought to be addressed in a more forthright manner by the legislative process. Of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.